There are lots of big games that are coming to the PS5, and if you're one of the console owners waiting for something new, then this is perfect for you. Hi folks, today in this video we're counting down some of the best upcoming PS5 games that we're all excited about. So let me just start with the one that came out of absolutely nowhere. Blood Message. This is a game set in 848 AD, late Tang Dynasty China, and you play a nameless messenger who has to deliver something that determines the fate of his entire homeland. You are traveling east with your son, and everything along the way is trying to kill you. The trailer dropped during Summer Game Fest, and I genuinely had no idea what I was looking at for the first 30 seconds because it is gorgeous. The art direction leans into classical Chinese painting aesthetics, lots of misty mountains and bamboo forests and ruined temples, but then the combat kicks in and suddenly it's this brutal action-adventure thing with parries and posture breaks and a sword that feels like it has weight. 24 Entertainment, the developer, they're the same studio behind Naraka Bladepoint, so they know how to make melee combat feel fluid without turning into floaty nonsense. What I love about this one is the premise. You're not a legendary warrior. You are a messenger. You carry a message. Everything else is just survival. The game does not have a firm release date yet. Some listings say 2026, but I would honestly be surprised if it hits before next summer. But the fact that it's real, that we've seen actual gameplay, that alone makes me excited. A Chinese historical action game on PS5 with that level of visual ambition and a story about a father and son on a suicide mission? Yeah, I am all in. And up next is Magician's the Devil's Deal. On paper, this sounds like somebody threw darts at a board of random concepts and just went with whatever they hit. A narrative-driven first-person shooter where stage magic becomes real. You play Jacob Menturo, a stage magician who makes a deal with the devil, gets trapped in a hellish underworld called Theaterland, and has to fight his way out using actual magic tricks as weapons. That sounds ridiculous, but the trailer for Magician's the Devil's Deal somehow makes it work. You pull a rabbit out of a hat, except the rabbit is made of fire and it explodes. You do a card trick, except the card is a razor-sharp projectile. You saw a woman in half, except the saw is for enemies. Focus Entertainment is publishing, which tells me they see something here because Focus does not usually take risks on weird genre experiments unless those experiments are genuinely good. The game is coming to PS5 in 2027, day one on Game Pass if you are on Xbox or PC, but PS5 is fully confirmed. What excites me about this one is how different it feels from every other shooter coming out. We have 1 million military shooters, 1 million sci-fi shooters, 1 million fantasy shooters. How many stage magic shooters exist? I think it's almost 0, right? This is one of those games where the concept alone makes you want to try it, even if the execution ends up being messy. And honestly, I have a good feeling about this one. The developer, Uppercut Games, they are not a huge studio, but sometimes that means they take risks the big guys are too scared to take. Give me a game where I can magician slap a demon with a disappearing bouquet and I will buy it day one. And coming in next, we have Guild Wars 3. This one hurts my brain a little bit because Guild Wars has never been on console. Ever. The first 2 games were PC only, completely locked to mouse and keyboard, not even a controller in sight. And now suddenly, Guild Wars 3 is coming to PS5. ArenaNet announced it during Summer Game Fest, and I think half the internet thought it was a prank at first. But no, it is real. A full new MMO in the Guild Wars universe built from the ground up for action combat, launching on both PC and PlayStation 5. They showed a cinematic trailer, no gameplay yet, but they confirmed a closed beta for fall 2027, and you can already sign up for updates. The big question, obviously, is how an MMO this complex translates to a controller. Guild Wars has always been about ability rotations, positioning, crowd control, interrupt timing, stuff that traditionally needs a keyboard and a billion keybinds. But if anyone can make it work, ArenaNet might be the team. They have spent years iterating on Guild Wars 2's action camera mode, and the controller support on Steam Deck has been surprisingly solid. I am cautiously optimistic. And honestly, even if the PS5 version ends up being a little streamlined compared to PC, just having a major, traditional, massively multiplayer online on console that is not Final Fantasy XIV or Elder Scrolls Online is exciting. The genre needs fresh blood, and Guild Wars 3 might be it. And next on the list, we have Virtua Fighter Crossroads. You know, the series has been dormant for so long that it felt like Sega had just quietly retired it and moved on. But then Ryu Ga Gotoku Studio, the Yakuza team, announced they were developing a new Virtua Fighter, and suddenly, everything made sense. Those guys love fighting games. They put Virtua Fighter arcades in every Yakuza game. They know the mechanics, they know the legacy, and now they are building Virtua Fighter Crossroads as a full narrative-driven action-adventure game. Not a pure competitive fighter, not a one-on-one arcade thing, a story-focused game where you explore, fight, level up, and deal with Chinese mafia stuff apparently. The trailer showed a lot of cutscenes, a lot of streets and back alleys, and then a combat system that looks like Virtua Fighter's core mechanics but adapted for group fights. That is a risky move. Fighting game fans are going to be mad that it is not a traditional fighter. Action fans might not care about the Virtua Fighter name, but honestly, I think it is smart. A pure fighting game in 2027 is a hard sell unless you are Street Fighter or Tekken. A Virtua Fighter action game with deep combat mechanics and a Yakuza-style story has a much bigger audience. It is coming in 2027 on PS5, and I am genuinely curious to see if this works. The worst case scenario is it fails and Virtua Fighter goes away forever. The best case is it brings the series back in a way nobody expected and suddenly everyone loves it again. And up next, let's talk about Alien Isolation 2. It took 11 years. 11 years of fans begging, of rumors that would not die, of Creative Assembly saying maybe one day, and then going completely silent. And finally, at Summer Game Fest, we got a teaser trailer for Alien Isolation 2. I do not think I have ever been more relieved to see a sequel announcement. The original Alien Isolation is one of the best horror games ever made. The xenomorph AI that learned your playstyle, the save points that forced you to take risks, the sheer terror of hearing that thing crawl through a vent above you. It was perfect, and then they just never made another one. Until now. Just imagine what these aliens can do now. Unfortunately, we do not have a release date yet. We do not even have a release window, but the game is confirmed for PS5, PC, Xbox Series, and Switch 2, which is wild because that means Creative Assembly is building this for hardware that can actually handle the lighting and AI systems the original struggled with. The original Isolation ran on PS4 and Xbox One, and you could feel the hardware limits. The xenomorph had to be dumbed down in certain areas because the consoles could not keep up. That will not be a problem on PS5. A smarter xenomorph, more complex levels, better lighting, and the same oppressive atmosphere that made the first game unforgettable. I cannot wait. I am also going to hate every second of playing it because I am a coward, but I cannot wait. Coming in next at Stellar Blade Blood Rain. The original Stellar Blade was a weird success story. Shift Up, a mobile game developer, made a character action game for PS5 that looked like it belonged in the PS3 era in the best possible way. Big swords, bigger combos, ridiculous enemy designs, and a story that made absolutely no sense but did not need to because the combat was so satisfying. And now, they are making a sequel, Stellar Blade Blood Rain. The reveal trailer showed Eve again, darker environments, rain everywhere, and combat that looks faster and more brutal than the first game. The big news here is that Shift Up is self-publishing this time. Sony published the original as a PS5 console exclusive, but for Blood Rain, Shift Up is going independent. That means the sequel will likely hit Xbox and PC alongside PS5, maybe even on day one. No release date yet, but rumors are pointing to late 2027 or 2028. The trailer did not confirm anything. All we know is that the game is real, Shift Up is working on it, and it looks like they are leaning harder into the horror elements. The first game was not scary at all. It was a power fantasy with some creepy monster designs. Blood Rain looks genuinely unsettling in a way the original never attempted. Dark corridors, flickering lights, enemies that move wrong. I hope they keep the combat deep because that was the best part of Stellar Blade, but adding genuine tension to the exploration could make the sequel something special. And next up we have Minecraft Dungeons 2. You know, I did not think Minecraft Dungeons needed a sequel. The first one was fine. It was a cute Diablo-like with Minecraft's art style and some decent co-op. It was not bad, it was just not something I ever thought about after I finished it. But then Mojang showed Minecraft Dungeons 2 during the Xbox showcase, and I kinda get it now. This is not just more of the same. They are building a full-action RPG, with actual build depth, meaningful loot, and encounters that look like they require strategy, instead of just clicking on enemies until they die. The trailer showed boss fights with mechanics, environmental hazards you have to avoid, and a gear system that seems way more complex than the first game's simple enchantments. Mojang says the game has high-stakes encounters and thrilling challenges, which is marketing speak, but the gameplay footage backs it up. You can see players dodging telegraphed attacks, managing cooldowns, coordinating with teammates. That is not what the first Minecraft Dungeons was. That is something closer to a real action RPG dressed up in blocky visuals. It hits PS5 on September 29th, 2026, which is not that far away, and apparently it uses the DualSense haptic feedback for different weapon types, which is a weird detail but a welcome one. If you have kids who love Minecraft, this is going to be huge in your house. If you just want a solid co-op dungeon crawler to play with friends, this might surprise you. Now next on the list, it's Resonance, A Plague Tale Legacy. The Plague Tale games have always been good, but I think people sleep on them because they are not loud. They are not bombastic. They are about survival, about protecting someone smaller than you, about the horror of disease and war, and how ordinary people get crushed by things they cannot control. Innocence was a beautiful surprise. Requiem was even better, bigger and sadder and more ambitious. And now we are getting Resonance, A Plague Tale Legacy, a prequel set 15 years before Innocence, focusing on Sophia with a sword instead of a sling. That is the big change. The previous games were about stealth and resource management. You had to sneak past guards, avoid rats, carefully manage your limited supplies. Resonance looks like it is leaning into direct combat. Sophia has a blade, she can fight. There are still rats, obviously. It is a Plague Tale game. There will always be rats. But the balance seems different. More action, less hiding. That could go wrong if the combat is clunky. But Asobo Studio has never made a clunky game. Everything they do feels deliberate and thoughtful. Resonance is coming to PS5 on August 27th, 2026, which is in a couple of months. That is surprisingly soon for a game this polished looking. The trailer showed full combat encounters, voice acting, environmental puzzles, the whole thing. It looks ready. And honestly, after the ending of Requiem, I am ready for something that is maybe a little less emotionally devastating. Requiem broke me. I am not exaggerating. I sat in silence for like 10 minutes after the credits. If Resonance is more of an action-focused adventure, that might be exactly what the series needs right now. So next up we have Resident Evil Veronica. You know, I have been waiting for this one for years. Resident Evil Code Veronica has always been the forgotten classic of the series. It came out on Dreamcast, got ported to PS2 and GameCube, but it never got the same love as the mainline numbered entries, and that is a shame because Code Veronica is fantastic. Claire Redfield at her best, the Ashford twins as villains, a mansion that is actually a private prison, and some of the most absurdly difficult puzzles in the entire franchise. The remake, officially titled Resident Evil Veronica, was announced at Summer Game Fest, and the trailer looks incredible. They are rebuilding the entire game in the RE engine, same as the Resident Evil 2 and 4 remakes. The trailer shows nothing but some cinematics, no actual gameplay, but we got to see a glimpse of Claire Redfield. We also got to see the eerie house, the island, and of course some zombies. But yeah, with how good the original was, I am really expecting a good experience once this officially releases. It is coming in 2027 on PS5, PC, Xbox Series, and Switch 2. I am honestly a little emotional about this. Code Veronica was the first Resident Evil game I ever beat by myself. I remember the tyrant fight on the plane, the crystal ball puzzle, the way the music changed when you entered certain rooms. To see it get the remake treatment, to see Claire back in a mainline game for the first time in over a decade, it means something. Capcom has been killing it with these remakes. They have not missed once. I trust them completely with this one. And up next, let's talk about Star Wars Zero Company. Respawn and BitReactor are dropping a deeply strategic turn-based tactics game in the Star Wars universe in August 2026, and it looks incredible. You play as a former Republic officer named Hawks during the Clone Wars, putting together a squad of misfits and mercenaries to fight a new threat. The combat is heavily inspired by modern tactical games, played from a top-down perspective where every action point matters, and permanent death is a very real possibility for your squad members. Between missions, you hang out at your base called The Den, upgrading gear, talking to your crew, and launching strategic strikes. They actually built full third-person exploration sections into the game, giving it the production value of a massive action-adventure title, even though it is a strategy game at its core. You can even build your own custom astromech droids focused on explosives, which is just objectively cool. The Clone Wars era is perfect for this kind of military tactics gameplay, and the PS5 version is going to look incredibly sharp. If you ever wanted to command a squad of heavily armed clones and weird aliens in a deeply tactical firefight, this is exactly what you have been waiting for. And next up, it's Metro 2039. The post-apocalyptic shooter franchise returns in February 2027, and it looks absolutely phenomenal. 4A Games is jumping the timeline forward 25 years after the nuclear war, following up on the events of Metro Exodus. The gameplay trailer just dropped, and the visual leap is staggering. The Metro series has always been about oppressive atmosphere, wiping dirt off your gas mask and counting your bullets because you never know what is waiting in the dark. Taking the series further into the future gives them a chance to show how the world has decayed and evolved over a quarter of a century. The gunplay looks heavier, the mutant designs look even more grotesque, and the lighting engine is doing some incredibly heavy lifting to make the ruined environments feel genuinely terrifying. Playing a Metro game is always a stressful, immersive experience, and the haptic feedback on the console is going to make every single gunshot feel dangerous. They have mastered the art of making a first-person shooter feel like a desperate fight for survival, and 2039 looks like the pinnacle of that design philosophy. It is dark, it is gorgeous, and it is going to ruin our nerves completely. Now moving on, we have Final Fantasy VII Revelation. The final chapter of the remake trilogy is finally hitting in spring 2027, and the scale of this thing is just absurd. Square Enix is not holding anything back for the conclusion. You finally get full control of the Highwind airship, letting you actually fly across a boundless open world and parachute down wherever you want. It is the exact kind of massive overworld exploration we have been begging for. They are also introducing the Fits system, which lets you equip special gear that physically changes the appearance of your party, and gives them classic job abilities like Black Mage or Warrior. That level of customization is going to make the combat system even deeper than it already was. Travis Willingham is stepping in to voice Sephiroth this time around, and the stakes of the story are literally planetary annihilation. We are finally going to see Rocket Town use the submarine and experience the climax of a story they have been telling for 7 years now. The PS5 is going to be pushed to its absolute limit, rendering these massive planetary guardians and the gigantic meteor in the sky. It is going to be an emotional, massive, exhausting masterpiece, and it cannot get here soon enough. But that's all for today. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. If you like this video, click like. If you're not subscribed, now is a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos from time to time, and the best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription. So click subscribe. Don't forget to enable notifications. And as always, thanks for watching.